Hello, everyone. I'm going to take a few minutes here to go through Chapter 6 walkthrough. Um, the questions are all very similar this week in terms of how they're laid out. There's going to be some change, some variations about how it's done, but for the most part, this should get you the framework you need to do what you need to do. So in terms of this first one, we're looking at expected rate of return and risk. We see Carter Inc. is evaluating a security. Given the information in the pop-up window, calculate the investment's expected return and its standard deviation. So in the pop-up window is this. That's all we got. So what we need to do is just multiply across, okay, which I did here, and then just drag that down. And then you sum up those to get our expected return. Okay, so we see the expected return for this investment is 9.4%. If you don't want to do it step by step like that, you can use some product. Just hit enter and it'll give you 9.4% too. So you can go either way with that one. The standard deviation is weird on this one because of the probabilities. If we were just looking at the standard deviation here, we would just hit enter the standard dev code. But for this one and any like that have probability associated with them, we have to find the variance first and then square root it. To do so in Excel is rather easy. We take our observation or our return minus the average to the second power. So caret 2, and then multiply it by the probability. Now, to slow that down and go over it again, you need to bracket observation minus the mean to the second power. And then close the bracket and multiply it by the probability. Now in here, if you hit F4, whatever cell is your expected return, mine's C10, yours might be, I don't know, D40. That doesn't matter, but you want to lock it by hitting F4 or function F4, whatever puts dollar signs around it. That way you don't have to write that formula multiple times. You can just grab it and drag it down. Okay. So you see it just adapts. All it's doing as I drag it down, these two cells are moving, but this one's remaining still, okay? Sum all those up, and then you come over here and you enter equals square root, SQRT, and then grab this cell there. And that's how we find the standard deviation. There's gonna be several like that this week. Just take your time with them. They're pretty straightforward once you get the formula kind of built out. If say one only has 3 observations, make sure that if you delete this, say that should be good, E9, just want to make sure. But let's say you just deleted this. That's not going to be the right square root because it's going to be summing up other pieces. Okay, so you'll want to make sure that your formula is right as you go along, and test that out on the homework before you get into the quiz. Next, we're going to look at CAPM, the capital asset pricing model. This is the formula for that. So it's the rate equals the risk, rate of return equals risk-free rate plus beta times expected return minus the risk-free rate. So this is our premium in here. The question provides us with the risk-free rate being 6% right here, a beta of 1.6, and an expected return of 12. What we see there is 15.6 is our required rate of return for this for Intel stock based on these figures. Now, what's interesting about this is if we go through and we set this up. So look how I did it. I did exactly what this formula is here. There's some brackets that we need to pay attention to, but essentially risk-free rate equals our rate of return equals risk-free rate plus a bracket, our beta right here, times the expected return minus the risk-free rate inside brackets. So you do have to make sure you have 4 total brackets and they look like this. Once that formula is done, let's say the next question said, all right, your risk-free rate is 5% and the beta is 1.4 and the expected return is 8%. This is just like last week. If you built it right, it'll adapt and you can go through 4 like that, okay? So that's a simple one to look at. I'll show you another CAPM at the bottom of this. Okay. Now, in terms of this one here, we're looking at expected return and standard deviation and capital asset pricing model. So in the pop-up window, it provided this information here. Okay, all of the Nike and S&P index. I inserted this row to make my life easier with doing the return. So I'll show you what we're doing here. We're looking at the holding period return. So I built this row in and this row in. So the holding period return is the price at the end of the period, plus any dividends, which we don't have, minus the price at the beginning, divided by the price at the beginning. So if I do this the right way, and like I said, I copied this in, you can go ahead and delete this one. Watch. That'll make your life easier. I'm going to delete these. So again, we see in the formula equals the ending price minus the beginning price divided by the beginning price. Okay, so I took this minus this divided by this. Now I can just go ahead and drag it down, and we don't need this one because there is no month after it. I did the same formula over here. This minus this divided by this. Okay, drag it down. On this one, we needed an average, so I entered the equals average, and this did this. Okay, and then hit enter. Did the same thing here, and we get the average for these. So we get the average for the year for Nike was 2.35. The average for the year was 1.81. And then for standard deviation, I just put the standard deviation formula in there, equals STDEV.S, and just grabbed all the observations. Don't use .P, make sure you use .S, okay? You'll see that option in there. P is for population, S is for sample. We do not have a population, we have a sample. And do the same thing here. Same thing. So we get both of those pieces. Now, another way we could look at this is, and I know this question's in there, but it might say, what is the dollar return? What is the dollar return and percent? Okay. So here we only did the percent. So if we wanted to do the dollar return, and then we'll do percent return. We already did the percent return. We know how to do that, but I'm going to show you another way. If we're going to do the dollar return, it's very simple. It's just this minus that. So our ending number minus our beginning number. Okay. Now, just like we did before, what's going on behind the scenes here is it already did that and then divided by this. So we just do the same thing. We take our dollar return minus our, divided by our original price, our beginning price. And so we see when we do that, we get 8.5. Again, this is an entirely separate question that you will see, but I wanted to show you how to do it based on this one. So what Excel has already preemptively done for us is we did the dollar return here. This was our dollar return. And then we divided it by the beginning figure to get our percent return. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that you all understood that you will have a question where you have to figure out the dollar return. That is just taking the ending price minus the beginning price. And there might be a time where, you know, it's negative, like we'll do the dollar return for this month is negative. And we'll drop that one down to, let's see, B44. Okay, so B40. We see we had a $2.40 loss for that holding period, which you see right here. That's the difference there. And then we see the negative return associated there. So again, this is an entirely different question. That's just, I think it's singular. It's not like this big one. Now you have a couple that are like this. So if you build this out the right way in Excel, it will be easier for you to get through those. Okay. For the betas, in this box, we were provided with this information. So just like we did earlier on the first one, we're looking at the beta of the portfolio. So we just multiply across. You put that formula in, drag it down, and then you just add it all up. And that says the beta of our portfolio is 1.36. Not too risky, a little bit higher than 1, but it's perfectly fine. And then for our last one, we're going to see this piece here. Again, here's the risk-free, or I'm sorry, the CAPM formula, but we're not provided with the risk-free rate here. We see that our beta is 0.845, and this is one where we'll have 3 different ones. And our general market return is, let's say, the 13.7. I'm going to move that out one spot. Now, how do we get our risk-free rate? So what we have to do is let's do our general market and our risk premium. Okay, both of those are in here. So we know this one is 13%, and the risk premium is 0.082%. Okay. The risk-free rate is the difference between the two. So I'm going to take this minus this. That gives us 5%. And based on the beta, the risk-free rate, our required rate of return is this. Now, that's the same formula that I had at the very first one. So it equals the risk-free rate plus a bracket, the beta times bracket, this minus this, bracket, bracket, close, and then we zero it out. Now, all other things staying equal, we know the next beta is 0.613, done. The next one is 0.575, done. Okay, so that's as easy as it can be. So what we're going to do this week is several of those CAPM ones. You do have several like this, but they should, as you get them squared away, be good to go. So let me know if I can help, but that is the video. Please feel free to rewatch it, slow it down, whatever you need to do. Let me know if you have any questions. Bye.